Texas was supposed to be the safe bet. No state income tax, booming job markets, and enough land to stretch dreams as far as the horizon. For years, it was sold as the promised land, the place where families could build futures, investors could lock in growth, and transplants from California or New York could breathe a little easier. But here's the truth no one wants to say out loud. In 2025, that comforting myth is breaking apart. Inventory is ballooning. Buyers are vanishing. Equity that once felt bulletproof is quietly evaporating. The shine is slipping. And beneath it, the cracks are spreading wider by the day. Maybe you've felt it already. The open houses that used to buzz with bidding wars are now eerily silent. Properties that once sold in a weekend are sitting for months. Price cuts that would have been unthinkable 2 years ago are now routine. 30, 50, even $100,000 just to get a showing. And with every reduction, confidence slides further. If you're a homeowner, you feel the unease in your gut. If you're a buyer, you wonder whether you're walking into a trap. And if you're an investor, you can't ignore the fear that the game has changed entirely. The question is not whether Texas is still attractive. It is whether the dream has outpaced reality. What happens when too many homes chase too few buyers? What happens when jobs slow, taxes rise, and insurance costs quietly strangle affordability? The truth is sobering. Not every city is built to weather the storm. Some are already unraveling before our eyes. And if you own or plan to buy in Texas, you need to know where the danger lies. So let's count down from number 10 to number 1, the most overpriced Texas cities in 2025. Markets where risk is rising and moving in could cost you more than you think. Not long ago, Texas was painted as the land of endless opportunity. Between 2020 and 2022, the story was simple. Move south, save money, and gain more space. Families from California, New York, and Illinois packed their belongings, convinced they were trading chaos for stability. Austin's skyline grew taller almost overnight, cranes dotting the horizon as tech giants planted their flags. In Dallas, open houses became competitions, with lines of SUVs snaking through suburban cul-de-sacs. Along the Gulf, retirees imagined sunset walks and carefree days in homes just steps from the shore. The promise felt almost irresistible, a place where affordability, growth, and lifestyle converge. But every boom carries its shadow. Prices surged far faster than wages. Investors swarmed in, treating neighborhoods like lottery tickets. Builders overproduced, confident that demand would never end. For a while it worked. Homeowners bragged about equity gains, buyers feared missing out, and policymakers pointed to Texas as the model of prosperity. Yet beneath the noise, warning signs were gathering. The dream that once felt abundant began to feel fragile. The very features that drew people in, cheap land, business growth, low taxes, started colliding with a harsher reality of inflation, higher interest rates, and stretched affordability. Now the mood has shifted. Those buzzing open houses, many are silent. Towers that once glowed with new life now sit with darkened windows. Coastal homes once celebrated in glossy brochures are burdened by maintenance costs and insurance premiums few anticipated. What began as a stampede into Texas has slowed into hesitation, and hesitation always carries weight in real estate. Excitement has turned into anxiety, and certainty into questions that no one wants to answer out loud. This matters beyond state lines. Texas isn't just another housing market, it's a bellwether. Its size, growth, and influence mean that what happens here ripples across the nation. If Texas, the so-called safe haven, can falter, then every market in America must reckon with what comes next. And that's why understanding this unraveling is not optional. It's essential. The first cracks never arrive with fanfare. They begin quietly, buried in reports most people don't read. Migration into Texas, once a tidal wave, has slowed to a trickle. Mortgage applications, once surging, are falling off a cliff. And when you look closely, the pattern is unmistakable. Listings are sitting 60 days, 90 days, sometimes 120. Homes that would have sparked bidding wars in 2021 now collect dust, even after painful price cuts. 30,000, 50,000. Some sellers slash deeper, hoping anyone will bite. For real estate agents, the story has changed overnight. Open houses once filled with out-of-state buyers now end with empty sign-in sheets. Developers who rush to pour concrete are staring at entire blocks of unsold homes. Investors who bragged about cash flow are quietly dumping properties, trying to exit before the tide pulls further out. The narrative of unstoppable growth is colliding with a harsher truth. Demand can vanish faster than it appeared, and when demand weakens, confidence goes with it. The natural instinct is to believe this is temporary, a pause, a soft landing. But the numbers tell a different story. This isn't one city's misfortune or a neighborhood correction. This is systemic. Inventory is rising across the state. Affordability is stretched beyond reach. Insurance costs are climbing. Taxes aren't letting up. Together, they form a weight the market cannot carry much longer. And that's the pivot we can't ignore. This isn't isolated. It's a statewide unraveling. Texas, the market that seemed untouchable, is now showing its vulnerability. To understand the full picture, we need to look city by city, because some are already deep in the red. Let's begin the countdown. Number 10, Dallas. Dallas was once the powerhouse of North Texas. Corporate relocations flooded in, entire suburbs sprang up, and buyers believed the boom would never stop. But in 2025, that confidence has cracked. Homes now sit 60 to 120 days before moving. Sellers slash 30, 50, even $100,000 just to get traffic through the door. Outer suburbs are painfully oversupplied. Developers feel the sting, sellers grow anxious, and buyers quietly hold back, waiting for further drops. Dallas still looks like a shining city, but the truth is simple. It's deep in correction, and recovery won't be quick. Number 9, Corpus Christi. On the surface, it looks like paradise. Gulf sunsets, coastal homes, ocean breeze. But behind the postcard view lies a financial storm. Insurance premiums have exploded to $5,000, $6,000, even $7,000 annually. Flood maps keep expanding, storms keep pounding, and buyers are backing off. Retirees are rethinking the dream, young professionals are leaving, and investors are cashing out. Maintenance costs, erosion, humidity, mold, drain wallets faster than equity can grow. Corpus Christi remains beautiful, but beneath the calm waves is an undertow of risk that can pull homeowners under fast. Number 8, Lubbock. Known for Texas tech, wide skies, and once affordable homes, Lubbock was pitched as a hidden gem. Developers raced ahead, rolling out subdivisions and duplexes as if demand was endless. But it wasn't. Population growth stagnated, mortgage rates surged, and now rows of unsold houses sit idle. Inventory is piling high, homes linger 90 days or more, and builders dangle upgrades and credits to attract buyers. Yet the core issue runs deeper. Outside of education and healthcare, jobs are scarce. Wages can't keep up, investors can't break even, and appreciation has stalled. Lubbock isn't imploding, it's drifting, slowly and steadily, into irrelevance. Number 7. Frisco. Frisco was once the crown jewel of the Dallas-Fort Worth suburbs. Luxury homes, top schools, nonstop demand. But in 2025, the shine has worn thin. Overbuilt neighborhoods now stand eerily quiet. Price cuts are painful and routine, and contracts collapse as buyers disappear. Builders are practically begging for offers. Short-term rental returns have evaporated, and families who bought at the peak are already underwater. Infrastructure strains under congestion, school enrollment is overflowing, and taxes keep climbing. Frisco still looks polished from the outside, but under the surface it is dangerously overexposed, an overheated market struggling to cool down. Number 6. Pasadena. Pasadena, southeast of Houston, once offered blue-collar affordability. Today it's weighed down by geography and risk. Much of the city lies in FEMA flood zones, and after repeated storms tested its fragile drainage systems, confidence collapsed. Insurance premiums climb into the thousands, often $6,000 a year, enough to push first-time buyers out completely. Since mid-2024, prices have already dropped nearly 9%. Lenders hesitate, investors retreat, and even longtime residents wonder if it's worth staying. Pasadena was once a stepping stone into Houston's housing market. Now it's a liability most buyers would rather avoid. Number 5. McAllen. For years, McAllen was celebrated as one of the most affordable paths into home ownership. But affordability has turned into fragility. Home values have fallen more than 10% since 2023. Streets and half-finished subdivisions lie empty. Investors who once speculated on booming demand are gone. Rental yields have dried up, wages remain stagnant, and utilities in the punishing summer heat crush household budgets. Lenders are tightening requirements, and first-time buyers simply can't qualify. McAllen still has cultural richness and community pride, but in real estate, it is drifting toward illiquidity. What once looked like opportunity now feels like risk. Number 4. Fort Worth, Dallas's cowboy cousin, thrived in the migration wave, adding apartments, condos, and sprawling suburbs. But developers overbuilt, and now the market is buckling under its own weight. Homes linger twice as long as they did in 2022. Foreclosure filings are creeping higher. Short-term rentals that once earned $2,500 a month now sit empty. Rising crime in key zip codes and mounting property taxes only deepen the unease. Fort Worth isn't collapsing yet, but it's wobbling, stretched between its traditional identity and an unsustainable growth spurt. For buyers seeking stability or investors chasing steady returns, the risk now outweighs the reward. Number 3. El Paso. El Paso sits on the far western edge of Texas, a city rich in culture, framed by desert and mountains, and known for its unique identity. But in 2025, uniqueness is no longer enough to shield it from the storm hitting housing markets across the state. Inventory has surged by more than 60%, while sales volumes have dropped sharply. Homes linger for months, gathering dust and repeated price reductions. Investors who once counted on El Paso for steady returns are quietly exiting, redirecting their money toward metros with stronger pipelines. The issue is isolation. Unlike Dallas or Houston, El Paso lacks a web of nearby cities to feed long-term demand. Growth depends heavily on federal spending, the military base, and cross-border trade. Meanwhile, wages have failed to keep pace with inflation, leaving buyers priced out even in a market that looks affordable on paper. Construction has overshot real demand, appreciation has stalled, and liquidity is drying up. For buyers hoping for quick equity or investors chasing rental income, El Paso offers little more than stagnation. Number 2. Austin. If El Paso is a slow bleed, Austin is the collapse playing out in real time. Once crowned America's hottest housing market, Austin was the tech darling, the pandemic gold rush city, the place where everyone wanted in. But in 2025, the giant is crumbling. Home values have dropped more than 15% in many neighborhoods. Condo towers that once pulsed with life now sit dark at night, half empty and half forgotten. Luxury homes are collecting dust. Sellers slash six-figure amounts from their listings, and still, buyers hesitate. The wave of tech layoffs, Google, Meta, Oracle, has gutted demand, draining the very fuel that powered Austin's rise. Airbnb restrictions have crushed short-term rental profits, while property taxes and insurance costs make affordability a mirage. Developers built for endless growth, but the boom evaporated, leaving behind half-finished shells and silent streets. Austin's fall is dramatic enough to force a bigger question. If this city, the crown jewel of American real estate, can stumble this hard, this fast, what hope do the others have? Is Texas really the safe bet it was sold to be? Or are we just watching the first act of a much larger unraveling? Number 1. Houston, Texas's largest city, was long seen as the crown jewel of resilience in American real estate. Energy jobs, sprawling suburbs, and endless construction gave it an aura of invincibility. But in 2025, that aura is gone. Prices are slipping, but the numbers on paper don't capture the full story. Walk through its neighborhoods and the silence speaks louder than statistics. Ballooning inventory has turned entire blocks into waiting rooms of unsold homes. For sale signs line the streets like warning flags, each one telling the story of a market running out of breath. Investors who piled in during the boom are feeling the sting of failed bets. Short-term rentals that once promised steady profits now sit dark. Their windows empty, their calendars unbooked. Developers, too, are stranded. Across the metro, rows of half-finished projects stand idle. Concrete foundations sprouting weeds, wooden frames exposed to the elements. The confidence that once drove Houston's expansion has flipped into overhang, leaving too much supply chasing too little demand. And all the while, the bills keep rising. Property taxes weigh heavier, insurance premiums soar, and affordability sinks further out of reach for families who thought Houston was their safe bet. Step inside one of these unsold homes, and the reality grows sharper. The echo of footsteps in empty rooms, stage furniture gathering dust, the faint hum of an air conditioner cooling a space no one calls home. Subdivisions once filled with moving vans and children playing now feel suspended, their streets dotted with vacant mailboxes and fading yards. Houston, once the picture of unstoppable growth, is now haunted by its own scale. And that is the real danger. When a city this massive begins to break, it doesn't whisper, it roars. Every weakness is magnified. Every crack turns into a fracture. Realtors warn of a prolonged downturn that could take years to mend. Some fear the bottom hasn't even been reached. The lesson is sobering. If Houston, the market once branded untouchable, can unravel this quickly, then the notion of safety in Texas real estate must be questioned. In 2025, Houston is no longer the model of resilience. It is the epicenter of a storm, proof that no market, no matter how large, is immune from collapse. Texas has always carried itself with a sense of inevitability, as if growth was its birthright. The promise of wide-open land, endless opportunity, and booming cities gave people the impression that prices could rise forever. But what we've seen is a reminder that no market is untouchable. Growth ran too far, too fast. And when momentum is built on speculation instead of fundamentals, it doesn't take much for the tide to turn. For buyers, this moment is not an invitation to rush in and chase what looks like a bargain. Price cuts can be deceiving, especially in markets where the trend line is still pointing downward. The danger isn't just overpaying, it's getting trapped in a house that continues losing value while carrying higher costs for insurance, taxes, and upkeep. Sometimes the best move is patience. Waiting can feel uncomfortable, but waiting preserves your options. For sellers, the reality is equally sobering. Homes will not fly off the market in days. Many will linger for months, testing your resolve and your financial stamina. To compete, price cuts are no longer optional. They're the admission ticket just to get buyers to the table. Preparing mentally for that shift is critical because frustration leads to mistakes, and mistakes can cost even more in a market already turning against you. And for investors, the lesson is sharpest of all. The days of easy equity are over. Leverage and short-term plays are punishing, not rewarding. The pivot now is toward cash flow havens, markets where rents cover expenses and stability matters more than hype. It's not about swinging for the fences, it's about protecting your base. The lingering thought is simple yet profound. Sometimes the smartest investment isn't deciding where to buy, but having the clarity to know where not to. That discipline can save you from years of regret and open the door to better opportunities when the storm finally clears. And this storm is far from over. What happens in Texas is not confined to Texas. These cracks are signals, and the ripple effects will travel across America's housing landscape. If you want to stay ahead of the unraveling, subscribe now, because this is only the beginning, and knowledge will be the advantage that sets you apart.